How's it going once again? It's Jason here, as the big man. Okay, we're gonna take part in the old bass part of the tutorial now. Basically how I'm gonna do it is that I'm just really gonna hum into the microphone and then show you a little later bit how to warp that against the drum beat. Hopefully with the drum beat coming through my earphones, it shouldn't be too hard to warp. But live has this wee funny thing where it'll set the warp marker up about a couple of milliseconds before the actual start of the bass line. So we'll have a wee look at that and see how everything goes into time then from there. And then I'll show you how to do the actual bass processing on that as well. So hopefully that should take us right through, show you how the actual bass is done. And we're only really going to do the verse or the chorus, whatever it's going to end up being now. I'm going to finish off separately and let you hear the other bass parts in the next tutorial. You won't be able to hear anything apart from my voice doing the bass itself because I've got my earphones plugged in now, so I don't get any microphone bleed from the actual drum track itself. So we'll just set it up now to record. I'll record a sort of a section of it, and then I'll consolidate that section and drop it into a separate session track, and I'll show you how to warp it from there in the next part of the tutorial. Mm-mm, 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 mm-mm. Okay, so that's done. So I'm just going to go through the next part and show you how I'm going to consolidate that down and then do the warping part. Cheers. Okay, so we've got the track sorted out. I'm going to consolidate bar two. I think it seems to be the best bar and seems to be in time the most, as well as sound right the whole way through. Obviously, you can go through and consolidate different parts, cut up different parts and drop them in, depending on what you like. But we'll do that now and consolidate the part that I've got highlighted on the screen at the minute. Okay, so we're just going to drop that into the session page so we can have a look at the warping part to it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just going to show you a quick warp on this. It seems to be fairly well set up from what I can see here. I'm just going to remove the effects as I've got a bass already complete with the same thing. I just want to show you the warping of it so that we can get a better idea of how it runs against the actual beat itself. Okay, so I'm just going to play it against the beat now. Okay, it seems to be fairly in time with the actual beat itself from what I can hear. There's just a couple of wee things that I want to have a look at, so I'll make it actually bigger than that. We're going to loop it as well so that it runs along with the beat itself, and see if we can get it exactly on time then from there. So just adjusted the track volume so I can actually see what it is that I'm doing there. It comes through quite heavy there. But I've just adjusted warp marker 2.3 to bring it slightly more into time because I want the last lick to come in on time with the bass itself. But other than that, that seems to be us done. As I was saying, I'll do a better sort of live warping tutorial at a later date covering both DJs and just general recording. So on to the processing. Okay, so now we've got it fully warped. I'm going to show you how I've done the processing on it. Um, I think we're going to look at something along the lines of hip hop or R&B in relation to this track, just because of the way the sounds have come in and the way that we can manipulate them using the plugins that Live has freely available within there. Um, Basically, as you can see, I've got the warping done. Um, the actual track itself, I'm going to look for a kind of a subbier kind of sound. If I press play on it now, you'll hear that all you've got is me humming basically, and the hum comes through with a lot of high frequencies. So we're going to want to get rid of a lot of those. So we're going to use a wee bit of the old auto filter again. And we're also just going to use a wee bit of EQ because there's a couple of frequencies in there that I'm not particularly liking that I've found and just dropped out then from the sound itself. So I'll show you the actual effects processing itself now. Okay, so as you can see, I'll press play and let you hear it as it stands. Okay, so what we noticed from that is that obviously the high frequencies are in there, which is okay if we're doing a lead part of the actual track itself, but I don't want to keep that in there. I want to make this kind of subby and run with the actual bass drum itself. What I'm looking at doing here then is obviously dropping a lot of the high frequencies out using the auto filter again. So I'll press that on and let you hear what it sounds like with that on. I'm going to solo the actual bass itself to give you a better and clearer idea of what we're looking at. So as you can hear there, it's dropped it down into more of a subbier sound, but we also found that in the last lick there, we have a lot of bass frequencies that we want to get rid of because we're having a bit of a troublesome time going to fit them into the mix, but also blow the life out of our speakers in relation to it. So I've just dropped a wee EQ8 in there to take out some of the bass frequencies at the start, but also I did notice whenever it's playing along with the beat, we get a high-pitched sound from the actual recording itself through the microphone. So I've used that to remove that as well. Okay, so that's going to drop it right down. I'll push the microphone over to see if I can pick it up. Okay, so hopefully you've been able to hear how we've managed to roll some of the sub off at the start, using a fairly loose Q setting around the one area on that. But also we've notched out a couple of the old frequencies around about the high end of things there. I'll show you them without the actual high frequencies on, see exactly what they do to the actual thing itself. Okay, so we're back to the original. I'm going to drop the one end here. You can hear the kind of bass roll off. So that kind of removes all the sub frequencies. That's kind of going in around about 85 hertz there. We click on number 4. We get rid of a wee bit more of the actual high frequencies itself. And obviously what we got to do from here is get a bit of grit into it, or a wee bit of a sound. So I've run it through the new dynamic tube plugin and set it to Mark C and up the output a good bit so that we can get a good bit of sound out of it. I'll probably run this to the send track to compress it down along with the rest of the actual track itself as well. And we'll show you that in a minute. So as you can hear, that's dropped it up a good bit. We're getting a good tube sound from that. It's bringing through some of the sub frequencies again, so we sit and sort of fiddle about with that. But if we run it through to the compressor now on the send, hopefully that should get rid of a lot of that. Okay, so it's running the whole thing through, and I'll put the beat in with it. Actually, I quite like it without the actual thing itself, so that's where we're at so far with the bass line. I'm going to record another couple and drop them in at a later date for you so that you can see it. But we've got a nice wee groove running at the minute here.